Young people who are going to have their benefits docked if they don't take up training or apprenticeship offers under a new back-to-work scheme to be announced later this month as part of a youth guarantee. Councils and mayors are going to seek out hundreds of thousands of people aged 18 to 21 who are unemployed or off sick. An awful lot of young people now claiming to be off sick, to offer them help finding a job or training. Ministers say they will not be allowed to remain outside the workforce. So the Work and Pension Secretary Liz Kendall says she's going to publish a 3-point plan to get people back to work. Well, let's talk about this with Justin Urquhart Stewart. He's an economist and also the chairman of the Regionally Investment Platform. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Thank you very much, Steve, for joining us. I mean, this sounds great. God, I'm old enough and ugly enough to remember, YTS. Hold on a second. What are you holding? Sorry, if you're watching on YouTube, you've got a cat. That was very sort of James... Well, you're holding it over your shoulder for those who aren't watching on YouTube. It's very sort of James Bond baddie in his red braces holding a large cat. Very disconcerting as I looked up and read.
Yes,
anyway, I'm old enough and ugly enough and not cat holding enough to remember YTS, the YOP scheme, Youth Opportunity Programmes, and all the different schemes you've had over all the years to basically say you need to be either in school, in training or in a job. But we've got millions of young people who aren't working. Do you think this scheme will finally work?
No, as it is now, as you correctly say, we have lived through those statements of various governments year after year, and what's their reaction to it? Very little. Now, one of your view, we go back in history to possibly someone called Norman Tebbit, go down on your bike, you'll find a job, and everyone got upset about that, but actually that was the case, and people did. Now, also, so actually putting some discipline into it, if you happen to still taking some benefits, then actually you should be expected to do something about it.
Yes.
Or you have the benefits taken away.
A bit of workfare. If you're a young person, a nice little bit of workfare wouldn't go amiss, would it?
That's the positive side of that, actually, so making sure you're actually going in and doing something and not just spending your time in bed the entire time. Otherwise, you lose that whole attitude of work and the positive attitudes that will help your body and all sorts of things. The other bit, which is a threat, and your more chance to actually get a reaction, is it's not just your benefits, but unless you do something, some of your family's benefits are going to get affected. So to what extent does the father, the mother, brothers, sisters, oi, you're not doing anything, and then you're getting all of these things, and we're going to be penalised because of what you're not doing.
Yeah.
Now, that's the negative, but you can do so much on the positive side. For example, actually getting people back into work and giving them a modest incentive so that they stay in that job for a year, 18 months, 2 years, whatever it happens to be. They can actually prove how much they've actually been bringing in. There may be some form of reward at the end of it.
Oh, yeah, no, wait a minute. The reward is getting paid.
Well, that's part of it, but if you also actually break the system in terms of, get them out because they're not there to penalise them, but then make sure they're getting in work and giving them it's carrot and stick, more stick.
Okay, but we've barely had any stick, and this is the thing that I don't understand. Parents, do your job. Your child should be working. I know an awful lot of middle-class parents who go, oh, well, he's not doing any work at the moment. Well, I'm sorry. So, in 2 weeks' time, the locks are being changed if you can't pay rent. Go and get a job. I find it extraordinary. I mean, especially young people. And again, a lot of these young people, they haven't got many qualifications. Well, don't set your sights too high then. Be lucky to get some minimum wage work. I mean, it is extraordinary how many young people are out of work. And if you don't work when you leave school or leave uni, your chances of ever getting a job are pretty darn slim.
Now, what you can do, though, there are jobs that I have to say, some are going to be pretty menial, labour jobs and things like that.
What's wrong with that? I've done plenty of those.
And I'm not showing off. I ended up working on a building site because I hadn't got any money, because that's what you had to do. I can't go back to the family because they're not going to support me, quite likely. But it makes sure you're taking responsibility for it. Yeah. Put that responsibility back into society, and if they're not going to help, then I'm afraid the bigger family is going to actually suffer as well. So nothing like having a grandfather saying, you are lazy toe rag, get on with it, is going to have a far more effect than that she's just losing some benefit, but you'll still get something.
But again, this is one of my things, though. It's like often it's like the doc benefit, so you lose a tenner a week or whatever it is. At the end of the day, you're probably still living, you've got a housing benefit, costing hundreds of pounds. It should be really, really simple. You're leaving school. Have you got a job? No. Well, good luck with that. But your family are going to be having to spread their... because it's largely often families who are also claiming a lot of benefits. They're going to have to be funding you, or you're going to starve, because there are still plenty of jobs, especially at that menial level. And I wasn't too good for them, and you weren't too good for them. I'm guessing Claire wasn't too good. My audience would have been too good for them. I would sweep the streets. I've cleaned toilets. I've chopped chopped onions in a burger takeaway. I don't think any job is beneath anybody.
I don't think so. I wasn't much good at have to say on Southampton Docks, and I do, sorry to say how pompous, I had to change my name as well, because Justin doesn't go down quite so well for a Labour.
Or the Urquhart Stewart. Can I ask, though, I mean, has your cat ever done any meaningful work, or does it just sit around showing its bottom to the camera?
As yet, nothing at all. Much more interested in actually turning around showing a bottom to whoever happens to come through. But I can't actually put her out to work yet. I thought a treadmill might help, because that might improve possibly the wind power that we're getting through. But not even that, I'm afraid.
Can I ask you just finally also, Rachel Reeves, some question marks have been raised by various souls, including the Guido Fawkes website and others, about Rachel Reeves, the Chancellor, and her CV. Quite a lot of pressure about whether or not her CV is actually... got a few false claims on it and labelling her to win her seat as an MP, and of course the claims about, she was a Bank of England economist that helped her party win power back in July. But she basically had claimed she was an economist on her CV at Halifax Bank of Scotland, HBOS, and using the experience to back up a claim she had economic expertise. But it turns out that she worked in retail banking at Halifax, and no one can remember her working as an economist. She was a mid-ranking person in a support department covering admin and IT. There seem to be some other questions about her exaggerating her time at the Bank of England as well. Should she be losing her job if she's lied on her CV?
Yes, lying is, I think, a fairly fundamental issue. If you lie, you go, unless you can actually persuade us otherwise. And a lovely phrase, involved in retail banking. That must be working on a till?
Well, exactly. I've been involved in retail banking. I've gone in and used their pens, writing a cheque. I've been involved in retail banking. But I mean, it was a big part of the shtick, wasn't it? She was a Bank of England economist. She'd had this oh, God, everyone would go, well, she knows what she's talking about. It doesn't turn out to stack up. Justin Urquhart, Stewart, thank you to you and your very large, quite fat-looking cat, to be fair.